What's up? Welcome to 99 for 1. And this week we're going over social media and the impacts it has or doesn't have. Say hi.
Hi. Hi.
They're shy. We'll be right back. Welcome back. 99 for 1, Strength for the Struggle. And this week I have two special guests. My daughters, and we're going to talk about social media, right? The impacts or maybe lack of impacts, or right? We'll see, right? We'll get into it. But real quick, obviously everybody knows my name's Oscar, and this week my wife can't be with us. She's on babysitting duty, watching my grandkids, and so I guess we'll start with my oldest. I guess you introduce yourself. What's your name so everybody knows who you are, who they're hearing?
Hi, I'm Alex.
And my other daughter,
My name is Kara.
Kara and Alex. They're a little timid, they're a little shy, they're sounding a little quiet, and so let's see, how do we want to start this? So Alex, how old are you right now?
I'm 25. I'll be 26 this year.
26. So you'll be 26, and you're married.
Mm-hmm.
You got.
I've been married for 5 years, and I have 2 kids and one on the way.
And one on the way. Kara?
I'm 17.
And you're cold. You're really cold right now, I guess.
Yeah.
17. Okay, so let's think. Let's see here. So you've been out of high school a year? Less than a year?
Well, it's like in person. You know what I mean? Like I haven't been in school like in person for a while.
Well, because of COVID, yes.
Yeah.
But you graduated
Mm-hmm.
early, so you graduated last year,
Mm-hmm.
right? You were still 16, and but you weren't actually in school for 2 years before that, right?
Yeah.
Because of all of the COVID stuff. So, and then Alex, you've been out of school.
Oh my gosh. I've been out of school for 8 years.
8 years. That sounds like such a long time, right? But it doesn't feel like that far ago. But
Yeah.
okay, so 8 years. I've been out of high school. I know you're not going to ask me, but I graduated in '96, and I'm from the time of no social media, nothing on. We didn't even have cell phones at the time, so I'm glad too, because I don't think that it would have been good for me to have social media back then. I probably would have been a lot of trouble. But so we're talking today about social media, right? We're talking about more from the aspect of females, right? Like what you see or what you saw in high school. We're going to talk about, I guess, how it's different now, I guess, looking back, what you've experienced now. If you still have the same struggles as far as like social media or what you get out of social media. And I know it's different for like, so I have 2 sons, those of you that don't know. And for them, I don't feel like they were ever really like into. Maybe they were, maybe it's maybe it's just as big for boys or young men. I wouldn't know. My sons, I never felt like my sons ever came to me and told me like, this thing on social media or whatever. But I think it's important. Obviously, we named this portion of 99 for 1 Strength for the Struggle, right? Because we do struggle every day in this world, right? Belonging to Jesus Christ doesn't mean that you don't struggle, right? Or you don't have hard times. In fact, it's probably harder sometimes to be a Christian and have these struggles and not know what to do with them. You know what I mean? So anyways, with that said, let me see. I'm gonna read you a couple things here, a couple statistics, and tell me what you think about what you're hearing. Right? So, I'm reading this thing about social media and how it has a reinforcing nature, using the activities in the brain and activities in the brain's reward center by releasing dopamine. Right? You heard dopamine? Doesn't mean you're dope, I don't think. But there's like a chemical in the head, right? It says it's a feel-good chemical. linked to pleasurable activities such as sex, food, and social interaction, right? The platforms are designed to be addictive and associated with anxiety and depression and even physical ailments. So according to the, I'm going to say PEW Research Center, it says 69% of adults and 81% of teens in the U.S. use social media. I use social media. I'm 45. I'll get to that in a minute. I was gonna kind of get into like what I feel about social media, but anyway, I may just throw these things out there for you real quick. So there's this that I want to see if you feel like this is true or not. It says one does not know how many likes a picture will get, or who will like the picture, and when the picture receives likes. So you're always going back to see, right, when you post stuff. And obviously you're putting stuff because you want to put your life out there, right? And it says to boost self-esteem and a sense of self-belonging in the social circles, people post content with the hope of receiving positive feedback. People post content with the hope of receiving positive feedback. Couple that content with the structure of potential future reward. And it says you get a recipe for constantly checking your platform. And so do you think this is like something that you have experienced? Like when you post something on social media, what is the main one that you use?
I think like Instagram.
Instagram, and you?
Yeah, Instagram's the main one I use.
Okay. And the other one on Snap, but so you think you use Instagram more though?
Yeah.
Yeah, I use more Snapchat just for like our family chat. Twitter is more like Twitter is more like for news, I guess. Like I follow a lot more news accounts, and they'll have like Twitter Live, I think, where they show you like what's going on in the world. And when Facebook first came out, I wasn't allowed to have it. And that's a good point. Let's talk about that real quick before we get too far into it. You said you're 25, right? You're about to be 26? Yeah.
So when was the first time that you remember getting your device of some type, or
like the first time I got a phone?
Yeah.
I think y'all gave me a phone in like 7th or 8th grade.
And was it I can't remember. So
it was a little flip phone.
It was a flip phone. Okay.
Yeah, it was like a little red maroon looking one.
Oh, flip phone, man. Yeah. You can't get much out of that.
Yeah, I think at that time like MySpace was around, and I wasn't allowed to have one, so I didn't. Okay. But like fast forward like a little bit, and I think Facebook came out, and y'all didn't allow me to have one, so I just never had one, and I still don't have one today. But when Instagram came out, I don't think.
I mean, you're allowed now. So.
No, I know, but it's like a mystery thing now. Okay. No, just when Instagram came out, I don't think y'all knew about it like right away, so I got one. Okay. And then when y'all found out, y'all made your profiles, and then y'all followed me. So.
Okay. Let's see here.
But I think Instagram came out in like high school.
Okay, so you had the flip phone. How long would you say before you had an actual like phone that can have like social media on it? Okay, maybe 2 years, 3 years?
Y'all got me the flip phone, and then when we were in Maryland for Christmas, y'all got me the slide up one. Okay. And then.
So that's still no social media, right? Not really.
Yeah, no. Okay. And then, well, I think I could access like Twitter on it. I think I had Twitter. Okay. But I mean, Twitter's just like words. Yeah. So, and there was like stupid posts that people would just be like, "I'm going swimming," or like dumb stuff. Yeah, I can't remember when like I got one that could like access the internet like that, or like a touchscreen. Okay. Maybe it was like 9th grade in high school. Maybe. So we were back home probably then, right? Yeah, I think we were back home already. And do you remember like your first?
Well, I remember when I got a phone, it was like in 5th grade because I was always walking home from school, so that's why I got me a phone. Okay. But I think like slowly after that, y'all started letting me get like, I think Instagram, like I got that one first.
I know I remember one of the rules was if you were gonna have social media, you had to like allow us to follow you, and you would follow us, right? Okay. And now I feel like it's this is a part I wish your mom was here for, because she's very funny in the sense like if you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, your mom has to quickly follow them and see what they're about, because it's true. Like I know maybe y'all don't feel that way, but as adults, as parents, we always feel, well, we're gonna see what this person's really about if we look at their social media, because that's what they're posting, and yeah, so that's pretty funny. So you remember what your first social media?
I like Snapchat or like Instagram. I don't remember.
Okay.
But it was either one of those.
Okay. And I do have another daughter that's not here. She couldn't make it tonight. She's also on social media just as much as you guys are.
Probably even more.
Probably even more.
Yeah.
And y'all wouldn't remember when she...
I think... Man, I don't know. I remember her first one was like a little like... That like big like LG one. Remember we got it like out of like one of the little... like those machines.
Okay. So going back to some of the stuff that I was reading about, it talks about when you're viewing other social activity, people tend to make comparisons, such as, did I get as many likes as that person?
Mm-hmm.
Why did this person like my post or not like my post? It says that a lot of people are searching for like some kind of validation on the internet, and I guess I never really thought about that, because I guess like from a guy, like I don't care, you know what I mean? But I will say, like for instance, yesterday I got all the coffee in the mail, and I was super excited to get my coffee, and I took a picture and I tagged the company, and I think I got like seven likes, and like 4 of those was like my family. So I got like 3 likes, but I noticed that sometimes like when it comes to stuff like that, and like it just sits there, I always feel like, well, what's the point of being on social media? Like, and I have like not tons of followers, but I guess for an adult person, I have a decent amount, you know, at least 40, right? It's not great, but it's 40 people at least. And so I guess seeing that kind of thing, it does kind of like hit you a little bit, you know what I mean? And I'm an old person, you know what I mean? So, but do y'all feel like that? Do y'all ever like think like, why didn't, like, you're posting something, do you feel like a certain person might like that or not like that, or do you do something thinking you hope that somebody likes something?
Well, whenever when I didn't have a boyfriend,
mm-hmm.
like, and there was someone that I liked that like followed me or like just followed me, I'd like make a post or whatever, and like I'd be like, oh, I hope they see it and I hope they like it. Okay. And then when they don't, I'm like, oh well. You know.
Okay, so let's talk about when they don't.
Yeah, I was like that when I was dating ex.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I would like post a selfie on Instagram or something, and like all these people would like, well, I mean, not all these people, but like people would like it, but I'd be like, mwah, whatever, until like he liked it, and then I would get like butterflies and be like, oh, like that was the reason I posted it. Okay. But I guess I don't really care about that much now. Yeah.
Okay. So obviously talking about these studies, right, and all that. So there's a couple of things that I didn't know about that were kind of surprising. It says the rate of adolescents reporting symptoms of major depression in a given year increased by 52% from the year 2005 to 2017. So I know this is a little old. I couldn't find anything more recent. But basically from 2005 to 2017, it went up 52% of kids who found themselves getting depressed, and they linked it to the rejection or the lack of attention maybe on social media. Since from 2009 to 2017, it grew from 63% in adults 18 to 25. Experiencing psychological distress in any given month grew from 71% in young adults from 2008 to 2017, and then and what was even worse is the rate of suicidal thoughts in young adults increased 47% during that same time. And so, you know, I guess I can go on and talk about a whole bunch of different stuff, but it does talk a lot about adolescence. I guess that's a certain age group, right? And it talks about almost doubling from what kids were experiencing before social media to getting on social media, and it almost doubled the amount of like depression or anxiety or suicidal thoughts. And so, like, I guess for me, you know, like, I think about that stuff seems so far, like, out of my mind, I guess, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm on social media. I see that its effects on young people. Definitely, I see it. And I've seen it in my own kids, right? I've seen it with y'all. But do you recall, like, so those things, like those statistics, do you ever feel like on some level, like those things hit you?
I mean, not now, like, not at the age I am now, but I can see where it probably affected me like in high school when social media was like a big part of every day, like all your friends and like all the people you go to school with were like posting all the time. And of course, like the more popular people would get like more likes or more attention. Sorry. I don't know. I mean, I guess it goes into like the comparing yourself thing, and it can make you insecure if like, I mean, say you posted a selfie, only got like 10 likes that day, and then someone else posted a selfie and got like 50, 60 likes. Like, you go to school the next day and they're getting all this attention because certain people saw them post in a certain outfit or whatever.
So you think that aids in making you feel like? So this is my thing about social media. I feel like it always makes you question yourself. It questions your own value because, like, human beings, we can be pretty selfish. We can be pretty self-centered, right? And like, if I think I'm a pretty good-looking guy, right? And then I see like in your example of somebody else that's in school and they post something, right? And let's just say in your head you're thinking that you're just as pretty or prettier, and you see them getting more attention on social media. Do you feel like, do you remember a time when it would lessen? You would feel like it lessens you, like your value, or you would feel like maybe I'm not as pretty, or those kind of things. Like, do you have experience with that at all?
Yeah. And like even now I still kind of like deal with that a little bit, but I mean I've gotten better with like to stop comparing myself, but it's just really hard when it's like in your face with social media. But
yeah, I guess I agree. Like, I still find myself comparing myself to other people, like in my age group or old friends or something like that, but I feel like it was a lot worse back then. I don't know, I feel like even like in 5th grade and middle school I would compare myself, and that was like without social media being present.
Without social media.
Yeah, and so when it came around, I feel like it just made it like a little bit worse. Like, I remember in high school, I also developed like a slight eating disorder because I felt like skinnier girls and prettier girls were like better. So I tried to be like that,
Which is funny because like if I showed a picture of like you were super skinny.
Yeah, I know you show me now, but like back then in my head, compared to the friends I had, I always felt like I was the bigger friend, the one that didn't know how to manage her curly hair and was like the only one with curly hair. And then of course I didn't know how to do my makeup. So like, I don't know, I just felt like it was all these things, and then adding social media to the mix, I feel like it just made my self-image like a little bit worse with like the filters and all the other stuff.
So you were a little bit younger when social media, like, I feel like you got it at an earlier age. So again, those who don't know, right? You're the oldest. You're the youngest, the baby. So
there's 9 years between us.
9 years between you, and so with every kid, they got their phone just a little sooner, and you got it probably the earliest out of everybody. So I don't know if you can remember this, but do you remember there being a difference, like when you didn't have social media and feeling your image of yourself, and then that image changing when you got on social media?
Well, when I was younger, like I have eczema, so my skin on my arms and like I had like eczema like on top of my lip and on my arms, and it was like bleached on my arms. So whenever I saw other girls that had pretty skin or like clear skin, it made me like more insecure about myself, even like without a phone. And all that stuff. So I think just seeing it, like I was like, oh well, I wish like my skin was like that. You know what I mean?
Okay. So then, do you think that feeling those little things, do you think they would amplify them? Because you were probably, I guess, is what you're saying is that you felt the same way regardless, right? You still felt self-conscious about something, whether social media was there or not. But do you think social media, like, I'm not trying to bash social media, but for parents maybe who are thinking about getting their kids phones at an early age or whatever, like, this is kind of what I want to put out there is to really think about these things.
Yeah.
Do you think it just amplified what you were already feeling?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, social media is not always bad.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely don't feel the way I felt now about it, but like, I feel like social media just validated my feelings a little bit more. like the feelings I had before were just like my own, you know, like, oh, it's just me, or oh, it's just in my head. But I guess actually following other friends and stuff like that, and then seeing the comments and attention they would get and the likes they would get, just like validated my feelings. Like, oh, like I'm not as pretty as them because they're getting all this attention or likes. So I think it just made it like a little bit worse.
Was there ever a time when you felt bullied, like either on social media? I mean, obviously bullying happens in school or whenever you're in school on some level. Sometimes it's worse for others and sometimes it's not. But as far as like social media as well, because over the years, like we've heard of people like who get picked on really bad and then they wind up committing suicide and those types of things. But do either of y'all have any experience with that kind of thing?
I remember getting bullied because I used to wear glasses, and obviously like I know y'all know what I'm talking about, but they know. So my prescription in one eye is like really thick, so it makes one of my eyes really big. And also, like, I'm just, like, I was always taller than the girls. And I felt, like, a little bit bigger than the girls, always.
Yeah.
And so I was always bullied by all the other girls for how I looked. And, yeah, I remember that, like, really clearly.
Yeah, it's funny because I always hear it from y'all about, you don't like your size, right? Or I'm like, it's kind of, because, like, I'm 6'1", and for a Hispanic, that's pretty tall. And so it's funny that like all of y'all are tall. You're the shortest, right?
Yeah, I'm the shortest.
But my daughters have always said like they can't stand how like tall they always feel, and I'm always telling you, well, just be proud of whatever. And like with you and your curly hair, like it's not a common thing. Like you know what I mean? Like to have curly hair isn't common. Yeah. You know, we always tell you like be proud of it. And I remember those years when you would want to straighten it all the time.
Or I would just straighten my bangs to try and fit it.
So, but I think that's life though, right? Like you always want, I guess, a thing you don't have, or, you know, you're never like quite satisfied with what you have in your life. Did you ever experience any bullying or anything like that? Any kind of like where it would go back to your self-image?
I mean, from social media specifically, I can only remember like maybe when I first started posting, like me and X when we first started dating, and not that like obviously I didn't find him unattractive because I was dating him, but I remember people would be like, "That's who you're with," or So I mean, I guess if that's a form of bullying, like bullying your significant other at the time, I guess like
okay,
I don't know. I mean,
no comment on that.
I mean, I feel like I was bullied pre-social media, like.
Okay.
And it was mostly because of like the clothes I wore because I didn't know how to manage my hair or something. Okay.
So if you could rate your self-confidence before social media, and then as far as you can remember, anyways, and rate it, I guess, after all these years of social media. After all these years, would you say that it's worse in some ways and better in some ways, or just worse? Both, like it's not good.
Well, okay, well, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I feel like some days I'll have like a lot of confidence in myself and what I look like and all that stuff, but some days I just like I don't feel confident whatsoever, and I'm just like.
And what brings that?
I guess just like whenever you feel like, oh, I want to put on this type of outfit, I want to get ready and do this stuff, and it doesn't come out the way you planned it, and you just like feel like, why can't I just like, I don't know, like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, like do you ever like you're laying down and you're like thinking ahead for like the next day, you're like, I'm gonna wear these pants with this shirt, and it's in your head and you're like, I'm gonna do my hair like this, I'm gonna do this, and then you put it on, you're like, this is not it. Like you saw yourself looking one way in your head, and then like that's not how it turns out.
Cause then like you kind of see like other girls, like they were like this like pretty outfit, and you want to be just well.
So where are the other girls that you're seeing though?
On Instagram or like social media. Okay. So
yeah, I guess I've done that too. Like I've seen someone wear an outfit I've seen on Instagram, and they've even like tagged the store, or like mostly it's like Target. I would like, okay, well, like specifically, I remember following this one lady, and she's a little bit older than me, but I still feel like I thought she was cool. She posted like a dress from Target, and I was like, oh my god, that's so pretty. So I went and bought it, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna wear this to church. I'm gonna like look good and all this stuff. And I put it on. I was like, this isn't it. And I had like a little breakdown. I was like, why doesn't it look like that? And it was because I was bigger chested than her, that it didn't look well. But regardless, it's just like you hype yourself up to like look pretty with certain outfits or clothes, and then like it just doesn't turn out that way.
So I guess to rate my confidence, like before, I guess it was like, I don't know, like maybe like an 8 or 9, because I guess I didn't really care before social media.
I feel like your confidence is still at a 9.
Yeah, because
so I'm like, wait,
like I don't. I guess I don't really like make it like known to show like I'm not confident and like be like that in front of other people. But I feel like by myself, and when I'm trying to get ready or anything like that, like I would just like I'm not confident. Like, and then but I don't know. Y'all always think of me like as a confident person, which is nice. Cause I'm like.
Well, yeah, from your parents, they're always, and then I wonder if that's something that goes into like most other kids too. Is like, I remember all those years when y'all were younger and in school, and so granted from my father's point of view, I always look back and I always think, man, I should have done better. I should have done better at loving on my daughters. I should have done better as far as pumping y'all up. You know what I mean? Giving y'all that reassurance. You know what I mean? That you're beautiful. But there would be many times where I would feel, also from a parent's point of view, where you don't believe it because I'm your parent and you're supposed to, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think some kids feel like, well, you're my parent, you're supposed to say those kinds of things. But I guess I just wish that I would have done a better job and still not listen to that voice that tells me that, because then I would just be like, they don't care what I say, or like they're not gonna believe what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Because it's gonna come from their friends or whatever. But yeah, like for me, from my point of view, I wish there was something I wish I would have done more of that, you know. And I kind of feel like at times I miss the mark, you know. And I think a lot of times too, like you just take things for granted, you know. Like from my point of view, I felt like I just always assume like y'all know, you know, like this and that, but it's the little things, you know. I had. There was a podcast that I was listening to. I know we always talk about this church, right? Church of 1122. But there was 2 pastors talking, and there's one pastor, he was talking about how he took his daughter out on a date. And I want to say, he didn't say how old she was, but she was pretty young, maybe like 8 or 9. And, you know, she knew about it, you know what I mean? They were going to go out on a date. And they had recently gone on vacation, and I think he said in Hawaii. She bought like a Hawaiian dress. And she wanted to wear that for the date, you know, and her mom fixed her hair up and everything like that. And, you know, this kind of thing, the reason it makes me emotional is because I remember hearing that story and I immediately felt like this regret in my life that I sometimes just feel like I take for granted. You know what I mean? I take for granted, y'all know, you know. But so they go out on this date and they sit across, you know, from each other at the table, talking, having a good old time. And he tells her that she looks, you know, that she's beautiful, right? All these things. And then they leave you. They go get ice. They go get cheesecake, and then they get in the car and he puts her in the back seat, you know, where she sits, and then he gets in the car and he sits in and he turns the car on and he looks in the mirror. He looks in the mirror and she sees that she's super sad, and he stops and he says, "Well, what's wrong, baby?" And she's 9 or whatever, and she's like, "Nobody said anything about my dress." and he, you know, he turned off the car. He went to open the door beside her, and he told her, like, you know, that she was beautiful. You know what I mean? That she looked beautiful in her dress. But from a dad's point of view, I hear that, and like he thought he did everything right. You know what I mean? Like he showed her a great time and told her that she was beautiful, but she was looking at something totally different. You know what I mean? Like she was looking at what she was wearing and she wanted to be complimented. You know, like you gotta notice everything about a woman, you know, because they dress up, you know, to them they're head to toe, ready to go, and and so, but it just really hit me, you know, because I from how I raised you guys, you don't know how many times I always told myself, like, I want to take y'all out. You know what I mean? I would always say I want to take y'all out, and it never happened. You know what I mean? And I don't know if there's no excuse really. You know what I mean? But
I thought you did have like lunch dates with Kara a couple of times.
I mean, they might have been, but they weren't like that. Like where it was like the whole setup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just something that I look back on, and obviously like I can't ever go back and fix, but I thank God that He lets me see those things, you know what I mean? And now that I have grandkids, like those are things that I really want to fix, you know what I mean, with them, you know? But I don't even know how we got onto this subject.
Leah's gonna be spoiled.
Yeah.
I know.
Do you have anything in your life that helps you with your confidence, or is there anything you notice that takes down your confidence immediately?
Do you want to answer first?
I think something that takes down my confidence is myself. I feel like everyone says like you're your biggest critic, and I feel like whenever like, and I can come to y'all with these problems and I'll tell y'all, and y'all like will like tell me compliments and stuff like that, and it's just like I can hear it, but I won't feel it until I think it myself. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'll tell myself all these bad things about myself, and then it'll just only make me feel worse. Which I feel like, do you do that too?
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I'm always a little bit worse than you because I feel like you have way more confidence than I do or have ever had. So, like, I mean, I've even, like, cried to mom and dad, like, in recent years about, like, how I look, especially after having 2 kids. I'm about to have, like, my 3rd in 5 years. Like, my body really messes with my self-image and, like, the way clothes fit and all that stuff. So yeah, something that brings me down would probably be myself.
The same.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you notice may bring you up, or does it just take time, like, to kind of forget about like that outfit that didn't fit, or
like brings us up once we're in that negative?
Yeah, or does it take a while?
I mean, I feel like it takes some time to just get out of that funk. Like sometimes you just need to like have a good cry.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just need to like have that moment and then kind of step back and be like, you know what, no, I do look nice, or you know what, sometimes I'm like, I could look worse.
Yeah.
I guess it could always be worse, I guess.
Yeah. Something else that helps, I guess, is that my husband's kind of funny. And he tries to hype me up for like everything. It doesn't always work, but like he will hype me up, and I guess that's a good quality that I like that he has. But also the other thing, like, and it's only been apparent in like the past 2 years, is that my daughter, like, hearing that she looks like me, like, I guess, I mean, that really helped. Can you edit this part out?
No, this is good. I'll just
hearing like a lot of the times that my daughter looks like me, like at first I didn't see it, and sometimes I still don't see it, but I guess hearing it so much, I'm like, well, she obviously must not be ugly. Like, I mean, I think she's beautiful and she's not a grouch. So I don't know, hearing that she looks just like me sometimes, I guess that helps me look at myself better. So yeah.
So you saying that particular thing, I guess, so this kind of leads me to like another question, I guess, that and having this conversation, this wasn't like, there's a lot of questions that we're talking about, things that wasn't prepared. I wanted to have this free flowing conversation. Does it mean anything to either of you to imagine God saying that very thing about you? Do you feel like it changes anything? Like him saying, like, in your times of like not being confident or feeling like, oh, I'm ugly, or my body isn't how I want it to be, and God saying, but you look like me, you're made in my image. does it do anything? Or is there just too much coming at you to really think about that thing?
No, I mean, a lot of the times when I am in that negative headspace, like the first thing I turn to is like my Christian playlist on Spotify or something, and it will help me. It will help me like boost my confidence, and I guess just like my mood. Like if my mood is lifted, then so is like my confidence. And I guess that's a really good like comparison, and like what I said to like that. I guess it's easy to forget that. So.
Yeah, because when you said it right now, I thought to myself, like, that's a very powerful thing because it makes you feel good that, like, because you look at your daughter and this is what I'm saying. That's an example of how me and your mom look at y'all. Because we look at y'all and we think, like, y'all are beautiful. You know what I mean? And we could never imagine, like the thoughts that maybe you think of yourself, we would never think. And I think if we think that and we struggle with stuff, like, I can only imagine how God looks at us and how his heart probably hurts for all the people out there who think that they're ugly or that they have like this self-image about themselves that's not true. But there's so many voices in the world that are telling you, like, and comparing you and saying, well, you don't look like this person, or you're not as whatever as this person. And I feel like God's voice gets drowned out sometimes because there's so much coming at us, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess it leads me to one of the questions that I had is, so when you hear, obviously y'all grew up in church, right? Those of you that don't know, my kids grew up in church. But when you hear scriptures, or maybe you don't hear them a whole lot, but scriptures like you are fearfully and wonderfully made, you're made in God's image, you know, you're a child of God, you know, you're a princess or there's no princess, you know, and I could say that you're a princess, but when you hear scriptures like that, God actually says like these things, like, you belong to me, you know, I've known you since before you were formed, you know, and all these things, like, what do you think? Do you think that believing in these things would be more believable if you heard them more often, or do you feel like it just comes with being older and coming out of certain stages in your life, or do they always make you believe it's just hard? You know, like what do those things mean to you when you hear scriptures like that? Do you feel like they're for you, or do you just feel like they're just scriptures out there that?
I feel like y'all tell us those a lot, like the what was it? I'm sorry. What was it?
Fearfully, wonderfully made.
That one, and then the one where you said your child God. That one, y'all say that one a lot to us. Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say.
But do they help? Do you think they help you or not?
Yeah.
Not so much. Not as much as we think they do.
I mean, as far as like, I'm trying to let you talk. As far as like, I guess the way I look at myself, I feel like they help me more with like the stuff I deal with on the inside, like anxiety or depression. Okay. I don't think, which I know they should, but I guess I don't use them in like the way I look on the outside. Like I hear those and I think of them helping me more with like going through like an anxiety attack or like being really down or depressed. Those help me more in like those times than like my self-image kind of battles, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree totally.
I mean,
no, I'm serious.
I totally thought that you would really be like a real chatterbox. But I feel like you're kind of.
I just sometimes like I don't know how to word things like very good, but when Alex says it, I'm like, that's how I feel. Like that's what I think.
That's such an
like,
older sibling, younger sibling thing, right? I guess it doesn't.
I know that's why I like the yells, like help me out.
Like I let her talk and then I'm like, okay, I'll finish.
So this is the last question I have, and then we'll just kind of like go from there. But Do you feel the pressure is less now that you're out of school than it was in school, or do you feel it's still the same?
Well, yeah, it kind of helps, but whenever I started working, like now, whenever like I'm at work or whatever, and I'll see like, I know I'm pretty and stuff like that, but I think it's more so not like that, like not like my face, but my body. I think that's what it is more so for me now. And whenever I see girls, it like makes me feel down about myself. Like, so it's still, I still deal with it, like, because I see it every day when I'm at work. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
So do you think that, so what do you think does more damage for you personally? Do you think that social media, the images you see there, do more damage to you as what you think about yourself? Or the people you see when you're out and about, at the store or at work? Like, which one do you, if you had to put on a scale and weigh them, which do you think would do more damage?
I think it's the people I see in real life, because on social media now it's very common to Photoshop your body and stuff like that, and I feel like like a lot of girls get work done and stuff like that, so I'm like, well, I don't have that stuff, you know what I mean? So a lot of girls that I see in person is like real life stuff that you see every day, and when you don't really look like those everyday girls, it's kind of like it messes with you a little bit, with your confidence. So
how about you?
I feel like I'm the opposite. Like, on social media, you follow people that you know, so even if there is a filter, like, there's still some truth to like how pretty they are or how their body looks. Like, if I'm out in public, I don't really care, especially because most of the time, like, you wear a mask now, so I mean so yeah, like, I'm not going to know the person I passed walking in Marshalls for like 5 minutes, but like someone I know on social media, like or knew them, like, you know, past tense, like, even if they have a filter, like, they still have that pretty face, or they still have that attention or whatever.
So I know for you it's differently. Like, I kind of feel like you're not so much worried about the self images of others and comparing them to you. But do you feel that then your kids? Then do you feel like if you see other parents doing something with their kids, or their kids looking a certain way, does that give you pressure? Like, for your own kids?
I feel like I feel like it shifted. Like, I don't really care how. I mean, I still care how I look. Like, my Instagram feed is not you won't see very much of me, but you'll see a lot of my kids. So yeah, like, I follow a lot of mom pages on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter, and yeah, if I see a kid dressed a certain way, if I see a mom posting doing like an activity or taking their kids somewhere, like, it does give me like a little bit of like mom guilt, where I'm like, oh, I should be doing that, or I should be doing better. So I feel like it shifted. Like, I don't really care just about my image, like, I care about how my husband and my kids are perceived sometimes. But at the same time, like the past year or so, I've also not really cared about social media. Like, I've found like a lot of peace in privacy, like keeping a lot of stuff off of social media, and just like you know, like, sharing those moments with the people that matter, which is just like y'all, like my family. Like, if I post stuff, it's just like, I think I post like once a month maybe on Instagram, and it's just to like, it's nice to look at my feed and see like how my kids have changed, or see what they're doing, like something new that's happened. So
yeah, I didn't think about asking that question until we were talking about it, and I kind of started to hear you saying like, you're not so much worried about yourself, but I know like when you bring the kids by, or anytime, they're always dressed the best. You know, they're always as clean as you can keep toddlers. You know what I mean? And so it makes me wonder, like, if the pressure's changed. You know, maybe not so much for your image or what you should be living up to.
Yeah.
But if social media has changed in the sense of like, if it makes you feel like, I think you're like, you do way more stuff for your kids than me and your mom did for y'all, because obviously we had 5 of y'all, and I always feel like we were like tight financially. So there's a lot of things we just didn't get to do for y'all. But in comparing where we were and how you are, I feel like you've surpassed us. And that's a great thing for any parent to feel like your kids are surpassing where you were in life at one time. And to see you at such a young age be able to do that, I feel like that's a great thing. You know what I mean? And so like, I don't ever want you to feel those pressures of the world, feeling like you're not doing enough, because I feel like you surpass what we were able to do. But even if that wasn't the case, like, you really do a lot. You know what I mean? Like, you do a lot for your kids. They hurt for nothing. You know what I mean? They, you know, like,
that's my son.
But you know, I just think it's crazy to think that even that could be a self-image type thing where that you have to like kind of face. You know what I mean? And decide, well, do I believe that, or do I look at really what's going on and go with that? For me, so before social media came along, and I don't know if y'all ever deal with this or not, but I noticed for me, since social media has picked up a lot from how I used to have it in my life, I feel like looking at my phone, like when I go lay down at night, you know, and I'm getting ready for bed, and I'll glance at my phone and just scroll through social media. I remember a time in my life when I feel like that time, or any kind of quiet time, or if I'm at a light, you know, and I'm sitting there and there is no phone to scroll through, I feel like there was all these times when you can do self-reflection, you know, or those times when you're thinking about your life, and I feel like it's those times that God is able to whisper into your heart as well, and whisper the things that we need to hear. And to me, that's the only place where I feel that social media can be probably the worst, you know. I feel like we all deal with social media, like we all deal with self-image, we all deal with confidence or lack of confidence. But I think the most hurtful thing, if we don't take control of social media in our own lives, is that we miss that one part where we can't be alone without social media. And I feel like it's not hard for God, but it's hard for us to hear God, because we feel that quiet time with social media, scrolling through social media sometimes. But that's what's helped me get back on track as well, like, and put the phone away, you know what I mean, and really make sure that I'm giving God that time. Do you feel like, do you ever think about how God looks at you?
Yeah. To kind of like, not piggyback off of what you said, but like, where you said like it's easy to replace that time that you used to have with God with like social media. But I feel like, yeah, social media has a lot of negatives, but I feel like it also has a lot of positives, not just for like, some people build careers out of it and stuff like that, but I feel like it's also a new way for God to reach you, like people, like his followers. Like, I think one of the first people I followed on Instagram was like Sadie Robertson from Duck Dynasty, and the way she uses her platform to like preach the gospel and stuff like that, and you know, like Christian bands and churches use social media as a way to reach people. Like, I feel like it has a lot of positives too. Like, and even, I'm sure we all scroll through TikTok before going to sleep. So like, even scrolling through TikTok, some things will come up where it'll be like with that person, it's like, wait, let me pray for you, or
I love those, yeah.
yeah, or like, God told me you need to hear this, and I'll listen to the whole video, and I'm like, okay. Or
Okay.
you know, like Christian bands, like that one you're listening to right now. What is it? Like
Elevation Worship.
Yeah, like seeing their stuff,
Yeah.
like on YouTube. Like, I mean, YouTube is probably like the OG social media because they have like everything. And I feel like it's also a really good tool for you to reach God a different way than opening your Bible or something, because I feel like that's hard for people sometimes. Like, they don't know where to start, or sometimes people just can't handle the quietness and being alone. So watching a video of somebody preaching or listening to a podcast or something, like, it helps. So
how about you, Karen? Did you forget the question?
Yeah, I forgot the question.
Yeah, I think I kind of forgot it too, because you started talking and I was
like your quiet time.
You said something about, no, I totally didn't answer your question. Your question was something about like the way God views you, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
totally dismissed your question.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I was like, okay, What do you mean by that? Like, what do you mean
Yeah,
by...
So yeah, I can rephrase because this is how I kind of wanted to close, I guess, with everything. Well, real quick before I get to that, you don't have kids yet. You do have kids.
Mm-hmm.
What's your answer and what's your answer? And remember the question because I don't want to repeat it. Do you feel, what age do you think it will be appropriate for your, knowing what you've been through, because your story is your story. Like, I don't know your story completely with social media or the goods and bads. But if you could, you don't have kids yet, but if you could guess at what you think would be an appropriate age for your kids to have social media, what would it be? And you have kids. And I know there's an aspect of, like, they have their tablets, but the tablets are, like, closed to the rest of the world. You know, like, they have movies and things, little games to keep them busy. So I know that's different. But from your experiences, what are the ages you think are appropriate for social media for your kids, or when you think you have kids? What do you think?
Maybe like late middle school, like 8th grade.
And what age is that? I'm like horrible.
Like 14?
14.
14.
Okay.
14 or 15. Because I feel like also I wouldn't want to let them have it too late, because then that's like, if people are like, oh, like, do you have social media? Especially like later on, like, I feel like it'll make them feel like lame, or I don't know, it'll like mess with their head, I guess.
Doesn't that kind of feed into that cycle though of feeling, making you feel like you have to live up to a certain thing though?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. What about you?
I mean, I guess I haven't thought about when to give my kids a phone or social media. I guess I'll probably give them phones like 6th grade, 5th grade. I don't know, it depends what's going on. Like, y'all gave Kara one early because she would walk home, so it was like a safety thing. So, I mean, I don't see my kids walking home.
Like, it's so crazy to think, like, the world has changed so much just from the time that y'all were in school, because it just seems like so crazy how the world is, you know what I mean? Like, what are those alerts that go off on our phone? The Amber Alerts, yeah. I feel like there's always something going on. And I think, like, I really feel like God had his hand upon y'all, because y'all walked. I mean, you walked and you took the city bus, right?
I remember walking in 5th grade.
Yeah.
And then I remember taking like the school bus, and then high school I took the VO bus. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and the places we lived at weren't always the best, you know. And I feel like God had his hand of protection upon you.
Yeah. Also, I had a knife and pepper spray. Not in 5th grade. I had it for the VO
Criminal. So, you know, to end all this, like, the point of all this was to develop a strength for, like, the struggles that we go through in life. And I really wanted to, because I know that we are not the only ones who deal with these things, either on social media, you know what I mean? Some people have it way worse. Some people may have the horror story of, yeah, my kid was bullied tremendously and he took his life, you know, all these things, you know what I mean? And I kind of want to end with saying something about what God sees in you and me and in the world, right? And obviously, it's our job to spread the gospel because that's what we're saved. That's what we're born again for. We're saved from this world to help save somebody else. You know what I mean? Tell somebody else about Jesus Christ and spread the gospel, and so that way they have eternal life as well. But there's so much more in this life that I feel like we are blessed to have, and I feel like sometimes we miss it because we don't open up the Bible and read what God says about us, you know. And it is so easy to hear these scriptures that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, that you are special to God, that you are all these things, right? And we hear them and we kind of like, you know, even myself sometimes I can feel like I believe those scriptures because God said them. But sometimes it's very hard to feel like that was meant for me. But I guess anybody who might hear this, like, the cross, what Jesus Christ did on the cross was meant for me. It counted for me somehow. It counted for you somehow. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when you think about us being an enemy of God and him coming and dying for us to to cover and wipe away all the sin in our lives to get us back to God. Like sometimes I just think like, why? Like what's so special? There's nothing special about me. Like, you know what I mean? Like I am on my best day. I sin in my heart. I sin in my mind. I struggle still. And to think that he is so good, and that's the part that I want people to understand, is that God is so good that obviously we don't deserve it, but he gave it freely. And to end with all of this stuff, like I want you to take something away from this, and anybody listening to take this. God is the king of all, the universe, right? He made everything, he created everything. And if you take any scripture that says something about us, right, what he thinks of us, I want you to understand, thinking anything contrary to what he said, it's like saying like he doesn't know what he's talking about. You know what I mean? Like if God says, and that's what I mean, that's the part where we have to like make up our mind and say like, I'm going to believe what God says. And just take one scripture. If you can't take a ton of them, if you feel like in your heart you can't accept it all, like all the things he says about you because you don't feel beautiful, like just think like Jesus Christ died for you, and for you to say, but I am ugly, I don't, you know, I'm this or that, and that is really like the thing that I think made a big difference in my life. And I only recently heard that, like maybe like 2 years ago, you know, this idea that me thinking anything about myself that's contrary to what God says, it's like I'm saying he doesn't know what he's doing. Like I'm saying, like I don't really believe that what you're saying, because you can't take the scriptures and just believe some things. You either believe it all, or you know. Am I boring you, Alex?
No,
I'll just play.
But all right.
But that's the one thing that I really want you guys to walk away from this with, and anybody that may hear this, is we have really like two choices. We either believe what God says or we don't believe what he says. And if we're going to believe what he says, then we have to like even quiet our own mind. And when our mind wants to tell us like, oh, you're ugly, or you're, you know, whatever, like we have to go with that other choice and be like, I'm going to believe what God says. And thinking anything else is like saying the God of everything, the God that created me, the God that created everything, he doesn't know what he's talking about. You know what I mean? And it's like we're saying, well, he's a liar. Like, you know. I hope y'all had a good time talking with y'all.
Mm-hmm. You did have a good time?
Yeah, I did. It was fun.
Cool.
I like laughing with y'all and stuff like that. So, but I guess that's it for now.
For the Struggle Saturday.
Next Strength for the Struggle Saturday.
That was a good one, Kara.
So, anyways, so I guess that's it, and we'll say goodbye. Later.